friends, enemies, frenemies. Hopefully there's a woman in there too. Welcome back to Theory Hammer, where we theorize about Warhammer stuff. I'm Kevbot, and we're going to go over the Agents of the Imperium again, because this is not an actual codex. I'm not sure why this exists, but it does, and there's actually a lot of really good units in here. Ones that you're going to want to take in a whole bunch of different Space Marine or Imperium detachments. So we're going to go over these guys again, and we're going to break it down a little bit more than just going over the review, where I basically just bitch and complain the entire time, because that's my specialty. So that's what we're going to do today. So if you like that kind of content, assassinate the like button, subscribe to Theory Hammer, hit Nurgle's bell icon, leave a comment down below. Check out our other videos as well. We got all kinds of content. We're making all different kinds of content. I got a battle report on the way. It's going to be much higher quality than the last one, which was not high quality. So check that out when it comes out, and be sure to hit that bell icon. That way you can always be notified every time we have a new video. All right, Agents of the Imperium. Let's get this a little bit closer here. All right. So this is what the Agents of the Imperium do, basically. They're not a codex. You could technically play them. There's absolutely no way you could make a 2,000 point army with them. So really, it's not an index. It's not an anything. It's just an ally. So they should just put these into every codex. They should just have like the different assassins and some other stuff like that. Probably makes it a lot more complicated, adds more units to everything. But it just bugs me that this is an entire index that is just for allying. So it is what it is, and I'm not going to complain about that anymore. This is what you do when you're playing with the Agents of the Imperium. It's a separate detachment that you can like ally with, like I was saying. This is what happens. You can get up to 2 characters and 2 other units if you're playing a 2,000 point game, which is the Strike Force. So Strike Force here, 2 characters, 2 other units, that's all you fucking get. Now, that's enough, because the units that are in here that you're going to want to take, specifically the characters and the other units, are great. So we're going to go over those. I'm going to gloss over the ones that aren't very good, because I have an entire index review on the channel. So I'm not going to spend very much time on units that aren't worth talking about. A couple of the other videos I've done in this format, where I'm on camera and going over the index, I'm going over all the units because those videos haven't been released before, I don't think, anyway. So I kind of do them all in one. This one is different. We're going to just go over the good units, talk about them. Should be a rather short video. So let's just get started. If every model in your army is Imperium, you can include Agents of the Imperium units in your army, even if they do not have the faction keyword you selected during the Select Army Faction step. If every model in your army has the Agents of the Imperium faction keyword, you can ignore the Select Detachment step when mustering your army. The maximum number of Agents of the Imperium units you can include in your army depends on the battle size, as shown below. So like I said, 2 characters, 2 other units, that's all you can get. In addition, you cannot select an assassin to be your warlord. So any of the 4 assassins cannot be your warlord, because they are all characters. So let's just go down the list here. The first ones on here are the assassins. They're all good, all of them. Let me bring up the points so that we have that handy. This guy is the Vindicare. So the Vindicare assassin is 80 points. He moves 7, he's toughness 4 with a 6-up save, 4 wounds, leadership 6, and OC 1. I would say that these are all the same, but they're not all the same. So this guy is faster than the other ones. I think he's faster than the other ones. Do they all move 7? I don't actually know. I just deep strike mine around. But they're all going to have a 4-up invuln, and they're generally going to be leadership 6 with OC of 1. Their toughness might be different, their wounds might be different, their movement might be different, like the Eversor I think moves 8. But that's what this guy has. So kind of quick, not super durable, but does have a 4-up invuln. So he can just take a bunch of damage by accident if you roll hot. The reason you take this guy is to snipe out enemy characters. So he's definitely not as good as I thought he was at the start of the edition, because I'm thinking you take a Vindicare assassin, you put him with your Imperial Knights, you snipe out their character turn 1, and then huzzah, now you have access to your like enhanced detachment rule or whatever, like you become honored if you destroy the opponent's warlord. So this guy's really good at destroying opponent's warlords, except when your warlord is a lone operative or behind a wall, which always they are. So not great, but this is what he's got. He's got an Executioner pistol thing. It's an Exodus pistol. Dev wounds, ignores cover, pistol, precision. 12-inch range with 3 shots, hitting on 2s, strength 5, AP 2, and damage 3. Let's do a little bit of Theory Hammer. 3 attacks on 2s, you got a 50% chance that you're gonna roll a 1. Let's just say you hit with them all. 2 of them will wound the character that you're hitting. If the character has a invuln of any kind, they're taking an invuln, unless it's a Marine character, in which case they might have Armor of Contempt up, depending on what else shoots at them that turn. So you're gonna go to AP 1, This will ignore cover though, so it will be AP 1 at least, and you're a flat 3 damage. You'll probably get 1 through, doing a flat 3 damage to their character. So that's pretty nice to have. And if you get lucky, if you get all 3 hits and all 3 wounds, which you won't, but if you do, there's a good likelihood that you will actually probably kill that character, because if you can get 2 wounds through with this thing, it's 6 damage, ignores cover. His Exodus rifle is similar. It's got the same things. It's it. Devastating wounds, ignores cover, it is heavy and precision. It's not a pistol. Hits on 2s, 1 shot at 48 inches, strength 7. It should be like anti-infantry 2-up or something, but it's strength 7, AP 3, D3 plus 3 damage, so minimum 4. If this guy hits you with this, and he wounds you, which you're looking at like a probably over a 50% chance there, maybe right about at 50% between the 2 to hit and the probably 3 to wound. Call it 50% chance. At AP 3 with ignores cover, even with Armor of Contempt, you're on your 4-up invuln. If you get through with this, you're going to do 5 damage on average, minimum 4. There's a lot of Marine characters out there that only have 4 wounds. A lot of other characters and other indexes only have 4 wounds, and this thing will just one-shot them. It's also dev wounds, so if you roll 6, it'll just go through. So that's pretty cool. He then has his combat knife, 4 attacks on 2, strength 4, AP 1, damage 1, whatever. He infiltrates, he lone ops, and he stealths. He's an assigned agent, he has dead shot. Each time this model makes a ranged attack, if a critical hit is scored, so a dev wound. Right, a critical hit is scored. No, I'm sorry, that's a critical hit. So on a 6 to hit, add 3 to the damage characteristic of that attack. After this model has resolved its ranged attack, select one enemy unit that was hit by those attacks, they take a battle shock test. Nice to have the plus 3 damage on a critical hit. That's pretty funny actually. So you become 6 plus D3 damage, but your likelihood of getting that through is pretty small. It's about a 50% chance. So I don't really like things like this that either just one-shot something or do absolutely nothing. But in the off chance that you do get through with that, it will definitely kill that character, assuming it doesn't have Feel No Pain or some other stuff like that. So, not bad. Shield Breaker is the last ability he has once per battle. When selecting targets for his Exodus rifle, he can fire a Shield Breaker round. If it does, until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack with that weapon, no saving throws can be made against that attack. So basically, it just gives it dev wounds. More or less. Because dev wounds changed a lot. Oh, you know what? I'm totally forgetting my lights. Stand by. And just like that, we're back with lighting. So, he basically can get dev wounds once a game. Once per battle, when selecting a target for his Exodus rifle, it can fire a shield breaker round. If it does, until the end of the phase, each time this model makes an attack with that weapon, no saving throws of any kind can be made against that attack. So, you could even shoot your pistol at something, and it'll just do a bunch of damage to them, because it's precision, and it's got dev wounds automatically. It's got basically dev wounds on whatever you're wounding on, so pretty cool. But not super duper. He's not as good as some of the other assassins, so we'll get to those in just a second. He's an infantry character, epic hero, Smoke Imperium, and he is the Musicarea assassin. Doesn't have grenades, does he? Interesting. He does not have grenades. He doesn't have any warrior options. He just comes with what he comes with because he's an epic hero, and almost never will an epic hero have warrior options unless you're like Bjorn or something like that, it's like a dreadnought that takes different weapons. So that's your Musicarea assassin. 80 points, totally worth 80 points. Lone operative, infiltrate, stealth, snipes your characters, gives your opponent a little bit of a headache because they gotta worry about where their characters are actually placed. And if you just pop this guy on top of a really tall building, he's pretty much safe there because the buildings are usually like 12 inches tall, so you have to get right to the base of the building in order to shoot up at him. And he's plus 1 AP at that range, or at that height. So, kind of a little cool little guy there. Then you have the Alexis assassin. You'll see these run in some people's lists. I don't really like them very much, but this is what they do. The stat line is the same as the Musicarea. Move 7, toughness 4, 6 up save, 4 wounds, leadership 6, OC 1, 4 up invuln. Same exact thing. This guy has a Animus Speculum. That is a 24-inch range weapon that shoots 3 times. Hits on 2s, strength 5, AP 2, damage D3. It's anti-psyker 2+, assault, precision as well, and then Psychic Assassin, and this is what Psychic Assassin does. Each time you select the Psyker, you select a Psyker as a target of the weapon, it changes the attack's characteristic to 6. So instead of having 3 shots hitting on 2s, you have 6 shots hitting on 2s. So that's 5 hits, that's 3 to 4 wounds at AP 2, D3 damage, but it doesn't ignore cover. So the D3 damage is a little weird, but that could, if you get enough wounds through with that, like let's say you get 2 wounds through, you're looking at 4 damage, that's not bad. Most Psykers only have 4 wounds-ish, depending on who you're actually targeting. I mean, if you're talking about Grey Knights, they're going to have more than that. But Generally, it's fine. It's not great, it's fine. If you're getting 6 shots, though, against the Psyker, you're wounding him on 2, so you're looking at 4 wounds, if not 5, if you get lucky. So not so bad there. If you can catch somebody out in the open, snipe out their character with an animus speculum. I'm illiterate, like I say in most of my videos, I can't read, so it's a weapon that he has. He then has a life-draining touch, which is a anti-Psyker 2+ dev wounds and precision melee weapon. Only 4 attacks though, hitting on 2s, 4 attacks on 2s, strength 4, AP 2, and damage 2. With dev wounds, it's interesting. It's not amazing, it's not terrible, it's just good. This guy deep strikes, he has lone operative, and he also has stealth. He's an assigned agent, he's an abomination. What? Okay. So he has a 2-up feel no pain against psychic attacks only. For a second there, I thought he just had a 2-up feel no pain. I was like, why isn't everyone running one of these all the time? The Calexis Assassin is 85 points, so he's a little bit more expensive than the Vindicare. Alright, he's got Soulless Horror. While an enemy unit is within 6, worsen that unit's leadership by 1 or by 2 if it's a Psyker. In addition, once per battle at the start of any command phase, this model can use this ability, and if it does, each enemy unit within 6 inches takes a battle shock test at -1 because of this. So, I hate it. I fucking hate it. I hate battle shock abilities so much. Yeah, they're just not good. I don't care what anyone says. The only time that these are good is when you actually have something like this that make you -1 to your test. Yeah, I guess you could do this in your opponent's turn, but you gotta be within 6 inches of them, which is hard to do with a 4-wound character, and have it survive. And they have to fail these tests in order for it to matter. Like, they could just get lucky, and even they could pass their battle shock even though they're -1. Like, you're a Space Marine. Your leadership's 7 now. Oh, I rolled a 7. Or I rolled an 8. Like, on the thing that matters. Or I'll just auto-pass it, maybe. Although I don't think that you can auto-pass against abilities. You can only auto-pass when you're actually taking a battle shock test in the command phase. If I'm wrong about that, let me know down below, but I'm pretty sure that's how that works. So, not a bad unit. I have seen him in a couple lists, but overall, he's pretty good for 85 points. He's a lone operative that can deep strike, so he can, get him down where you need him to get him. But beyond that, he's very niche because he's very anti-Psyker, so I don't think that he's one of the better ones. I think he's actually one of the worst ones. But that's my opinion. Everyone has opinions. Mine are just right. So, he's an infantry character, epic hero, grenade, Imperium. Just a good unit. Just a good unit to have for 85 points. Although I think probably 5 points too expensive. That's what he comes with. He's got his life-draining touch, he's got his speculum thing, he hurts Psykers real bad, and he's got no warrior options. The Eversor Assassin, though, this guy is a boss. This guy, how many points are you, Mr. Eversor? He's not with the other ones here. He is 75 points. He's the cheapest of the assassins. He moves 9, T4, 4 wounds, 4 up invuln, all that's the same, except for his move is 9 instead of 7. So Executioner Pistol, this is an anti-infantry 3-up pistol with 4 shots on 2s, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1. So, okay, it's not meant to really do too much. It's nice that it has anti-infantry 3-up. He then has his Power Sword and Neuro Gauntlet, which is anti-infantry 3-up as well. 6 attacks on 2s, strength 5, AP 2, damage 2. So it's a mastercrafted Power Sword that has anti-infantry 3-up. Very nice to have because there's a lot of infantry out there, like Custodes, like Marine Aggressors, or things like that. They're toughness 6 or 5, Terminators, toughness 5. He wounds them all on 3s. Any infantry, wounds them on 3s. That's how that works. Then he has Deadly Demise D3. Yes, this guy explodes if you kill him. He has lone operatives and then Scout 9 inches. That's so good. You can have this guy right behind a wall. He scouts up 9 inches behind another wall. And then he moves 9 inches plus an advance, and he gets to where he needs to go. He can't get assault on his weapons, but this model is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced. So it is actually able to do actions because it's able to advance and shoot because of this ability. It doesn't actually have assault, but it effectively gains assault because of that ability. So 9-inch move, 9-inch scout, 10-inch move minimum. So that's 19 inches that I just moved. I'm definitely on that middle objective. I'm definitely on this objective over here. Or maybe, if I roll a good enough advance roll, or if we're playing specific deployment zones where you're playing like quarters where they're closer to each other, he's potentially in your deployment zone, deploying a teleport armor on turn 1. Great unit. Really good unit. Now, he's got this thing called Friends on. In your command phase, select one of the following effects to apply to this unit until the start of the next command phase. Adrenal Surge, that's the first one. That's advance, shoot, and charge. Then you have Predatory Focus. That's precision with his all of his weapons. So it's not melee, it's all of them. Shooting, melee, everything. And then you have Killing Rampage, which is funny. You get sustained hits 3 on this weapon. So 6 attacks, one of them will be a 6, one of them will miss. So you have 5 hits plus an additional 3. Now you have 8 hits with this thing. It's anti-infantry 3 up. When you have 8 hits, you're going to get about 5 wounds on average. So you're looking at 5 wounds at AP2, 2 damage from this one little guy that's 75 points that moved 19 inches minimum and then charged you. So he will tear through a unit of like random stuff that you put on the objective. He'll just murder it. Really, really good for 75 points. He competes with the Calidus Assassin, but we all know the Calidus Assassin is the best one because of her ability to go up and down. So we'll get to her in just a second. This guy has one more ability, which is the Sentinel Array. Once per battle round, you can target this model with the Fire Overwatch or the Heroic Intervention Stratagem for 0 CP, and you can do so even if you target a different unit this phase. People underestimate the power of the Heroic Intervention Stratagem. I try to avoid letting people do it if possible. Sometimes you just can't, but other times you can. Like there's a battle report, well, not a battle report, but there's a, what do I even call this? I went to an RTT, and I'm going to do a video on all the games. The first game that I played, my opponent was able to deep strike a unit of Custodes down outside of 9, but they were close enough to the thing that I wanted to charge, which was a Land Raider, that if I got into contact with the Land Raider, they were going to be able to heroically intervene on me. So we'll get to that in that video, so check that out when it comes out. But yeah, being able to do that is really, really good because it's very disruptive, and it kind of throws people off because they weren't expecting to get in combat with a specific unit. And you can do this before the person consolidates, so you can really protect units with it if you need to. I charge into this unit, I intend to then pile into some other unit and kill them instead. Well, if I charge in and then you charge me and get into base-to-base contact with me, I cannot do that. So don't underestimate the Heroic Intervention Stratagem. It's very strong. Is it strong on this guy? Not particularly, because it's just one dude with a ton of attacks, but again, it's gonna get into base contact with something that then can't move, and that's the important bit. Fire Overwatch Stratagem, who cares on this guy? You're not going to use that ever. You're only ever going to use a Heroic Intervention. So this guy is hilarious. Flies in there at like lightning speed, literally lightning speed, moving faster than like an Eldar tank somehow. He just teleports across the battlefield, kills a bunch of units in combat, and then you have to deal with him. If he ends up behind a wall or something like that, you have to deal with this guy. He doesn't have fights first, which sucks, but still, being able to just rampage through stuff is always really good, especially on a 75-point lone op that scouts. Like, he's just, everything about him is good. So either him or the Calidus Assassin in literally, and I mean literally, every single Imperium army that you build, except for maybe a couple random niche builds here and there. So let's get to the Calidus Assassin, because the Calidus Assassin is also very, very good. But before we do, this guy's an infantry character epic hero with grenades from the Imperium. No war gear options, he's got what he's got, he's an epic hero. You know the deal. Now we get the Calidus Assassin. Moves 7, so she is a little faster. I thought she moved 6, but like I said, I'm always just deep striking her around, so she's never actually moving anywhere. She's just Hulk smashing into the clouds and then coming back down somewhere else, getting me some stuff. Move 7, toughness 4, 6 up save, 4 wounds, same stuff there, 4 up invuln. So basically the same stat line, at least from the toughness down, same as all the other assassins. She's got a Neural Shredder, which is an anti-infantry 2+ precision torrent weapon. I didn't know this had precision, actually. That's interesting. D6 shots. It's 12-inch range, of course, because it's a flamer. Very, very few flamers will have an 18-inch range in this game, or less than a 12-inch range. So maybe moving forward, I'll just not tell you the range unless it's different than that, because it becomes cumbersome to go over all the different stats of all the different weapons. It makes my videos like 40 hours long, and nobody wants to watch that shit. So yeah, pretty good flamer. Strength 5, AP 2, 1 damage, anti-infantry 2-up, precision. Like, it's a way better heavy flamer because it's anti-infantry 2-up, precision, and AP 2. So every time I fire this thing, I roll a 1. So it never does anything for me, but it has the potential to do some interesting damage to stuff. Kill a couple of Marines here and there, or, 5 somethings, little guys, guardsmen or something like that. So Shooting, okay. Melee, much better. It's got phase swords and poison blades, which are lethal hits and precision. 5 attacks on 2s, strength 5, AP 4, 2 damage. Nice. So if you don't have an invuln, you're just getting cut up by this thing. She's got 5 attacks with it. It is precision, so she can just cut through a character. I don't know. She gets into combat with an accursed cultist squad, and then she just kills the character that's in there. 5 attacks on him, probably a lethal hit. She's gonna have 4 other hits, maybe 3 other hits. 2 of those a wound. Call it 3 wounds on that guy. He fails 2 of them and dies. So that's what she does. Now, that's not why she's good. This is not why she's good. This is why she's good. She has Deep Strike, Fights First, Infiltrators, and Lone Op. So having Infiltrators is really nice because in certain deployments, she can just hide behind something outside your deployment zone and then just move up onto an objective. That's pretty good. Obviously, Lone Op is one of the best abilities in the game. Can't be targeted outside of 12. Super duper annoying unit. Then she has the Reign of Confusion. This is the one that we all know about. If your opponent uses a stratagem, and it has to be battle tactics, so make sure you ask your opponent pre-game, if you have one of these, ask your opponent pre-game which of their stratagems are battle tactic. Take note of it, write it down, or just ask them as they use stratagems. That's usually what I do because I can't remember anything because I have brain damage. So, Reign of Confusion is very good. It makes the stratagem cost 1 more CP from then on. And I believe this works when she's off the table as well, which Derek actually reminded me of whenever we played our game on Monday. She then has Polymorphine, and this is why she's super duper good. At the end of your opponent's turn, if she's not within an engagement range of any enemy units, remove her from the battlefield, put it into strategic reserve. The thing here is, in the movement phase, in the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, you must set this unit up on the battlefield. I don't believe you have a choice here. There are some times when you can put things into strategic reserve, and you don't have to bring them down the next turn. This, I believe, is not one of those, because it says, comma, in the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, set it up on the battlefield. So I don't think you get an option there, but who cares? She starts over here, she starts behind a wall, she starts somewhere, she jumps up like the Hulk, she comes down and deploys the teleport homer, or she comes down and she cleanses, or she comes down and gets you investigate signals. She's just super duper good as a secondary unit because of Polymorphine. I never get her into combat. I think about her as a secondary unit, like, exclusively. Like, every single turn when I pick up my assassin, I'm like, what secondary are you going to do this turn? I never intend to use her in a way where she's going to be trying to attack something, because look at her profile. She doesn't have the durability, she doesn't have the attacks, and she doesn't have the guns to really, like, fight a unit of guys. And if you're just trying to get in there and kill a character, there's no guarantee that that's going to happen. So just take her for her Polymorphine, jump up and down the table, and just get like 10 points a game with this 90-point unit. Super duper good. Best assassin in the index by far. Very close second is the Eversword though. So maybe not by far, but she's the best one for sure. So that's what she does. She's just super good. Take her in every single Imperial army that you have. Take her in Imperial Guard. Take her in Grey Knights. Take her in Imperial Knights. Take her in everything. Just take the assassin. The assassin is crazy fucking good. And she will get you points as long as you play with her right, which sometimes you will and sometimes you won't. But most of the time, most of the games I've used her in, she has gotten me a ton of points. Probably close to 10. Almost every game. So she just comes with what she's got. She's got the Neural Shredder, the Poison Blade, no war gear. She's an infantry character, epic hero, Imperium, and that's it. So out of the assassins, they're just secondary units. That's usually why you ally this in, especially if you're playing like Imperial Knights or something. You have absolutely no secondary units. Like, what are you gonna use one of your 140-point tanks as a secondary unit? Don't do that. Just take an assassin, take some henchmen, and do it with them instead, because then you're not wasting points on stupid things. So, yeah, great units. The Rogue Trader Entourage. They do infiltrate, but beyond that, let's see how many points they are. The Rogue Trader Entourage is 105 points for 4 models. So you got a 4-wound Rogue Trader character, and then everyone else has 2 wounds apiece. Yeah, they give infiltrators to what they're leading. You don't need it. You don't need this unit. Feel free to read this yourself. The description will contain a link to Games Workshop's website where you can download this very same index and decide for yourself if some of these other units I'm going to skip over are actually worth talking about. If they are, let me know down below. I'm not perfect, although I wish I was. So we're going to just move past the Rogue Trader entourage. There's not too much to see here. The Voidsmen at Arms, also not great. Let's just see how many points they are. They're 50 points for 5, so they're 10 points apiece. Each time they get lethal hits, nah. So we're going to skip over the Voidsmen at Arms as well. The Imperial Navy Breachers, these used to be able to take in units of 5. You can't anymore, so because of that, we're not going to talk about them. Feel free to download the index and decide it for yourself. The Imperial Navy Breachers, I'll tell you what their points cost are though. No, that's the Henchmen. Imperial Navy Breachers, 105 points. So yeah, if you could take these in units of 5 still, you definitely would, because they have infantry, grenades, Imperium. Mainly just the grenades being important there. And then they have this grenade belt thing. The bearer has the smoke keyword, and each time you select the bearer's unit as a target of the grenade stratagem, roll 1 additional d6 when resolving that stratagem. So you roll 6 instead of, you roll 7 instead of 6, which will more likely shore up you getting at least 3 mortal wounds on something. And they do have this other thing where they can reroll a wound roll of 1, unless you're on an objective, in which case they can reroll all wound rolls. So that's just really good. I don't really care what their weapons are. Just having reroll everything to wound is really strong. But you got to take these units at 10 now, so for 100 points, they're fine. But your henchmen are better for 40 points. We'll get to them in a moment. The Breachers, leave them at home, not great. Subductor squads, also kind of in that same vein of things. The Subductor squad is 110 points. This is so stupid. You can either take 10 or 11 models, and it's the same number of points. Like, why would you ever take 10 models when you can take 11? Alright. So these guys have fights on death on a 4-up with their mechanical bites, which I think is on 1 guy. We're gonna move on. They're not worth taking, trust me. Just don't worry about them. Exaction squads. Nope, don't take them either. Don't even care how many points they are. Vigilance. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the Vigilance squad earlier. So I guess they're actually the same. Subductors, they also come in units of... Where are you? Subductors are units... yes, you can take the Styber Mastiff thing. 10 or 11 guys, so just take 11. There's no points different. We're playing power level, remember? Exaction squads, same deal. 10 or 11 models, 110 points. All 3 of those units are the same, basically. Got the Exaction squad, what is the Subductor squad, and something else, whatever. They might be slightly different points. They're all useless. The Vigilance. Yep. Okay, so we went over their stuff there. This guy, this woman, I think it's a lady, Lord Inquisitor Draxus, Kyra Draxus. I think that's a female name. This model is insane, dude. 75 points for this thing, pretty sure. Kaya Draxus, 75 points. So this unit is crazy, specifically with Custodies. Move 6, toughness 3, 3 wounds, 4 wounds, a 3-up save, leadership 6, OC1, 5-up invuln. Not a super great profile. Having 4 wounds is nice, but T3, you know, you're getting wounded by strength 6 on 2s. But dude, look at her ranged weapons. She has Dire Singer, it's anti-infantry 4+, dev wounds, and assault. So this gives an assault weapon to the unit if they need it, which I don't think Custodians need. I think they have assault already on their bolters, but whatever. This is an assault weapon, so she can also advance with that unit and still be able to shoot this thing. Anti-infantry 4-up, dev wounds. So we kind of understand what that means from the combi bolter perspective, which has the same anti-infantry 4-up and dev wounds. Those are only 1 damage apiece, and they only have 2 shots max. This thing has 4 attacks at 18 inches, hitting on 3s, strength 4, AP 0, who cares, anti-infantry 4-up dev wounds, 2 damage apiece. Then she's got Psychic Tempest. This is an indirect fire weapon with Psychic and Sustained hits 2. 6 shots, strength 6, AP 0, damage 2. So you're going to miss with 2, but you're going to get a Sustained and end up getting 6 hits with this. Insane amount of shooting from this woman. So I had, like, this unit with her and Custodians literally killed an entire squad of aggressors in shooting. And then in the next turn, they killed Vulcan and his unit in an Overwatch. He rolled real well with his sustained hit there, and I didn't roll great on saves, but like, they killed like 400 points by themselves. It was insane. And I didn't do any damage to them, So check out that video when I go over the RTT that I went to. I got slapped, dude. It was bad. The list I run is so fucking bad. So in combat, she's got a Power Fist. 3 attacks with it, hitting on 3s, Strength 6, AP 2, Damage 2. She's a leader, she has assigned agents, and then she has Authority of the Inquisition. While this model is leading a unit, it can embark within any transport. Every single Inquisitor has this ability. And then she has Xeno Hunter. While she's leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit, except Imperium and Chaos, add 1 to the hit roll. So basically all Xenos. So she will add 1 to the hit roll to a unit that probably doesn't need it most of the time, but she gives it to herself. So being able to hit on 2s with all these weapons, really good. And then she has the Psychic Veil. Basically what this does, in your command phase, you roll dice on a 2-up, she makes the unit a lone op at 18 instead of 12. Super duper good. Super duper good. 75 points for this lady. Now, you might be looking at her profile and being like, well, you know, it's only strength 4, then there's no AP, and this guy is only strength 6, and it's no AP. Nah, fuck that. She's with a unit of guys that give her reroll wounds, and they can shoot twice once a game. So, she's going to get 8 attacks with this weapon. That's going to be 5 hits. That's going to be about 4 wounds, 3 or 4 wounds with dev wounds on an infantry unit, each 2 damage. So that's very, very good. And then the Psychic Tempest thing, who cares if it's AP 0? You get enough shots with this thing, it's just going to have so many hits that a couple of the wounds are going to go through, and then she's going to get to shoot again. So really silly. And that's not including all the other weapons in that unit of Custodians that are shooting twice. So it's a lot of firepower. At least against infantry and other stuff like that. Because these dev wounds on 4-ups, and getting to reroll wounds, and getting to shoot twice, like this is all you need. 8 attacks with dev wounds, anti-infantry 4-up, and a twin-linked, basically. Crazy, crazy unit here. Definitely if you're playing Custodies, this needs to be in your list. This absolutely needs to be in your list. If you're not playing Custodies, I don't think that she's super duper good. Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of different units other than the Custodian Guard that really get amped up to 11, or at least she gets amped up to 11 when she's with them. So usually you're going to see her in a Custodies list, at least I think at a glance. That's how I've seen her played, and I've been on the receiving end of her. She's so good. She's insane, dude. Insane. No options, just comes with her stupid guns and her Power Fist. She can be attached to Imperium Battle Line Infantry or Inquisitorial Henchmen, so any Battle Line Infantry from any Imperium army. So if you do find some other way to make her weapons better or to give her real wounds, things like that, and there's probably stuff out there that I'm just not thinking of, but put her with there. It's 75 points, and she will make them way better. Alright, so she's an infantry character, epic hero, Psyker, Grenade, Imperium. Yeah, she's got a whole lot of keywords there, and a whole lot of guns. So she's like probably one of the best units in this index, at least when it comes to allying with Custodians. Like, dude, after seeing what she does, I'm like, you need one of those in every single list, because this is fucked. So, put her in there. Kodiak is also pretty good. He can get you CP back. That's the only reason that you would take him. He does have a Strength 9 Thunderhammer, like he actually has a Thunderhammer. It just doesn't have dev wounds. But it's AP 3 and flat 3 damage. It's Strength 9, AP 3, 3 damage flat. 3 attacks with it though, but hitting on 3s. Pretty hilarious there, just one-shotting Gravis guys or Turbinators or whatever else he's swinging into combat with. He's just not very survivable, like anything in this game. He's only got 4 wounds, he's T3, but does have a 2-up save, and he does have a 5-up invuln. So what he does here, he can get it any transport. While he's leading a unit, models in that unit have Feel No Pain 5+ against psychic attacks and against demon models specifically. Really weird ability, but then he has the Spy Network, which is really why he's useful. Each time your opponent gains a CP as a result of an ability, roll 2+, on a 2+ you gain a CP. So if you're discarding your secondaries, this does not work. But if you're something like Abaddon, or if you're some other type of ability that gains you CP, like the little repulsor that I have with the comms array on it, giving me a CP on a 5-up, on a 2+, he also gains you a CP. So for armies that don't have any CP regeneration against armies that do, he really balances that out. He has 75 points as well. He can be attached to, I think, just any Imperial battle line, just like Draxus, and then the Henchmen as well. So depending on your build, like if you're playing Grey Knights, I know Derek uses this guy in his Grey Knights, specifically because of the ability to balance out the CP that you generate, or your opponent's generating. For every time they generate one, you have a likely chance of generating one as well. So he's pretty niche as well, but Yeah, I mean, for what you got there, 75 points. He's pretty cool to just chill on your backfield. He can smack real hard with his hammer. He's got a cool little anti-infantry gun here. Well, anti-infantry 4-up, dev wound, psychic thing. This is what it is. It's D6 shots, strength 3, AP 1, damage 2. The D6 shots is annoying, but it's cool to have. If you do want to expose him, if he is attached to a unit or something, that might do a wound or two to something. But mainly you're taking him for this spy network ability. You know what's really nice? Not having to think about a fucking 1,000 different combos for every single Space Marine faction. Because when you're trying to review Space Marines, there's too many combinations of things. Like, a codex will come out and it will be months before people realize a certain combo is really strong. That makes my life difficult because I just want to go over the index, see what the combos are in the index, and not have to worry about a fucking thing else. This is one of those indexes where I can just go over it, tell you what's good, and tell you why. I don't have to worry about 1,000 different combos. You just got to think, like, for Draxus, for example, what units is she good with? What units supplement her more? And the answer seems to be Custodian Guard. So, for Codiez, though, he's just good based on the fact that he balances out the stratagem, or the CP that you're getting. So, no war gear options, has a Psychic Blast, his hammer, can be attached to those 2 units I just said. He's an infantry character, Epic Hero, Psyker, Imperial. And I think, besides the henchmen, which are the last thing we're going to go over, I think that's it. We might talk about Eisenhorn, because Eisenhorn's pretty cool, but I'm not sure that he's on the same level as Draxus. Greyfax, nah, don't worry about Greyfax. Don't worry about this guy, Karamazov, I think that's how you say that. I'm not sure what this guy does. Don't use him. They don't even make this guy anymore. Regular Inquisitor, yeah, fine, whatever, no one cares. Eisenhorn, we'll talk about Eisenhorn. He moves 6, toughness 3 with a 4-up save. I didn't realize he only had a 4-up save. He's got 4 wounds, leadership 6, OC of 1. He has an Artificer bolt pistol, so 4 attacks, strength 4, AP 0, damage 2, hitting on 3s, and then Mind Assault, dev wounds, precision, psychic, sustained hits 1. Only 2 shots at 18 inches, hitting on 3s, strength 5, AP 2, and damage 3. Interesting, but not interesting enough, I don't think. You have a 1/3 chance to get an extra hit on it. The precision's kind of cool, but usually, especially with shooting, you can play around precision pretty easily. The dev wounds is nice to have, though, so it's kind of cool. Then has his rune staff and some other word. It's 5 attacks on 3s, strength 6, AP 2, damage 2. So, cool little staff thing there. He does have a Feel No Pain 6+. He leads. He can get into any transport. And then while he's leading a unit, you double the attack characteristic of weapons equipped by the demon host only in that unit. He has Dominate Will. At the start of your opponent's shooting phase, select an enemy infantry unit. Infantry only. That is within 12 and visible. Roll d6 on a 1. This model suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 2 to 5 until the end of the phase. Each time a model in that unit makes an attack, you subtract one from the hit roll until the end of the phase. If you roll 6, then until the end of the phase, they can't shoot at all. He just says, no. And just makes that unit not shoot. So, Eisenhorn, you're pretty cool. Let's get on to the henchmen. These guys, so Eisenhorn's abilities or whatever, his keywords are infantry character, epic hero, psyker, grenades, Imperium. And then he is an Inquisitor as well. Then you have the Inquisitorial henchmen, and my god, what a clusterfuck. They move 6, they're toughness 3 with a 5-up save, but they have 2 wounds for no good reason. Their leadership 7 and OC 1. This unit is 40 points. So Eisenhorn himself, how many points is Eisenhorn? He is 65 points, so he's actually pretty cheap, all things considered. The henchmen are 40 points. You get 4 in a unit to start. They can take all kinds of different stuff here. They got Acolyte Firearm, which is it's a pistol. It's a 12-inch range pistol. It's a 1-shot, ballistic skill 4, strength 4, but it does have an AP, which is AP 1, damage 1. Somebody in the unit, which is going to be this Servitor guy, can take Heavy Bolter. The Jericho has the Jericho weapons, which are an 18-inch range, 3-shot weapon, hitting on 3s, strength 6, AP 1, and damage 2. One of the Servitors can also try to take a Multi-Melta, or a Plasma Cannon. And then somebody in the unit can take a Plasma Pistol, and then the Demon Host guy has this Unholy Gaze. Psychic, sustained hits D3, 18-inch range, 1-shot, hitting on 4s, strength 9, AP 2, and a flat 3 damage. So Eisenhorn boosts this to 2 shots. That gives you a 1/3 chance of getting a sustained hit. That's pretty interesting. So, not great, but interesting, for sure. For melee, 3 attacks with strength 3, AP 0, damage 1, somebody with an Eviscerator has dev wounds with 2 attacks on 4s, strength 6, AP 2, damage 2. It's just not enough attacks, and it just doesn't hit well enough. It's only on 4s for this to be scary. If it was like 4 attacks on 4s, then maybe it'd be scary, but 2 attacks on 4s means you're hitting with 1, and your strength 6, AP 2, 2 damage. It's just not enough. Then you have the Warp Grasp, and I believe this also gets +1 to its attacks if you take Eisenhorn as part of the unit, because it's part of the Demon Host guy. 4 attacks on 4s, strength 6, AP 2, and damage 1. So that's what you get for combat. They have 1,000 different abilities, which the first one is the Acolytes. While an Inquisitor is leading the unit, each time an attack is made against that unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So that's pretty interesting. Now this big unit with 2 wounds apiece is -1 to be wounded. The Mystics, if you have a Mystic and an Inquisitor leading the unit, enemy units that are set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within 12 inches of one or more of the Mystic models. It's a shame that it's the model and that he doesn't give it to the unit, because then the unit would become really, really, really good. But you gotta, so you have a 4-man unit, then you have your Acolytes over here, whatever, the Mystics over here. So if you deep strike over here, you can be 9 inches away from the unit, but 12 inches away from the guy still. So it's just not really what I want. But if you can get 2 Mystics in the unit, which you can, then you can have 1 on this side, 1 on that side. But then your front is not covered as much. So, but as long as they're on the sides and your unit's kind of like in line with itself, that should be fine, because then that 12-inch range should converge over 9, depending on how big the squad is. All right, that's what your Mystics do. Then you have your Jericho. All Inquisitors leading the unit. If it contains a Jericho, each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, add 1 to the wound roll. That becomes very, very strong, because now all of your Unholy Gaze stuff, the 2 shots with the strength 9, AP 2, and damage 3, they're +1 to wound. They're wounding everything in the game on 4s, or better. AP 2, flat 3 damage. Pretty awesome. Your Plasma Cannon, +1 to wound. Wounding everything in the game on 4s or better. AP 2, that should be AP 3, it's a typo. Why do they do this, dude? That's the Plasma Pistol and the Plasma Cannon are both AP 2 when you overcharge them. Nice to have. 2 damage apiece on that, and you're going to be getting, let's say you get 3 shots with it, and you're +1 to wound with it. It's pretty nice. You only hit on 5s though, so whatever. Not super duper good, but getting +1 to wound happens on your Jericho weapon as well. That is almost wounding everything in the game on 4s at that point. If your toughness 12, you're wounding them on 5s because you're +1 to wound. But everything else, you're wounding on 4s or better, getting 3 attacks with it, and it's pretty good. It's 2 damage apiece. And then you have the Demon Host. While an Inquisitor is leading the unit, if it contains the Demon Host model, models in this unit have a 5-up invulnerable save. So now they have 2 wounds apiece, they're -1 to be wounded, and they have a 5-up invuln. Very, very good. Now Eisenhorn, if we jump back to him, he has this double the amount of attacks characteristic of the Demon Host guys in the unit. So this is actually going to double this to 8 instead. It's going to be +1 to wound, to only ranged attacks, never mind. So this is not going to be +1 to wound, but it will be 8 attacks at strength 6, AP 2, and damage 1. So that's pretty awesome as well. And then giving the whole unit a 5-up invuln, giving them -1 to wound. Everything about this is good. Your henchmen, they have so many fucking options, it's hard, it makes your head spin. You can take 4 to 10 of the Acolytes. You can take 2 Gun Servitors. You can take 2 Mystics, 1 Jericho, 1 Demon Host. Okay. The Inquisitorial Acolyte, any of the Acolyte, no, I'm sorry, just 1 can take a Plasma Pistol. You're probably going to do that. It's got the same range as your whatever gun that is, so it's just better overall. And then you can have an Acolyte equipped with an Eviscerator. Do that, it's free. And then 1 Gun Servitor's Heavy Bolter can be replaced with either a Multi-Melta or a Plasma Cannon. Having a Multi-Melta that's +1 to wound, pretty awesome. It hitting on 5s, not so awesome. But when it does hit, being +1 to wound at AP 4, D6 damage, nice. I believe only 1 of them can take it. So every henchman, or Acolyte, has an Acolyte firearm and an Acolyte melee weapon. Every Gun Servitor has a Heavy Bolter and a melee weapon. So that's the one that I care about here. You're going to have a Heavy Bolter, and you're going to have either a Multi-Melta or either a Plasma Cannon. You can't double up on the 2, and you can't do like 1 Multi-Melta, 1 Plasma Cannon. It's only 1 Gun Servitor can swap it out. So overall, for 40 points, you can't go wrong with this unit. You just can't. You're gonna. So what you do if you're playing Imperial Knights, that's really where this codex shines, this index shines. You take Imperial Knights, you set aside 80 points for 2 units of henchmen, 90 points for the assassin, that's 170 points, that's 1 dog basically, or whatever, armiger. You take out 1 armiger, you put them over in the trash can, and then you take 2 units of acolytes, and a Calidus Assassin. And now your army is much better at playing the game because your Acolytes can sit in your backfield, keeping that safe. Your Assassin can be popping up and down the table, getting you secondary points with Cleanse and Investigate Signals, Teleport Homers if possible, behind enemy lines, all that stuff. Investigate Signals I think I already said, but that's also great for your henchmen as well. You have one on this side, random little armiger back here with the guns, chilling back there so that your entire backfield is covered. You need these kinds of things in those armies. This supplement is very, very useful. I just don't understand why it exists. I wish I knew. I wish this was just... I wish 90% of these units didn't exist and all you have is like the henchmen and the Inquisitors and the Assassins, because that's all that really matters. Like, why do any of these units exist? In what world are you playing with, like, this fucking guy? Karmam, blah, 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 this fucking guy, whatever his name is. When are you going to use Inquisitor Greyfax? Or, like, any of these, the Vigilant Squads? Like, you're playing Imperium already, you probably have more efficient choices for infantry in, like, every single army. Yeah. So, basically it's henchmen and a couple of the Inquisitors and the Assassins. And they're all really good, and they're all really good because of secondaries. And then that's pretty much the bottom line when it comes to this index. There's no stratagems here. There's no enhancements here. There's just units, and those units can just ally into your other army. Every single list that I play has a Calidus Assassin, because the Calidus Assassin is just way too good not to take. And when I'm playing like fun, casual games, depending on the list that I'm running, sometimes I'll put Codiez in there, sometimes I'll put even henchmen in there. Like if I'm playing Imperial Knights, I'll put 2 units of henchmen in there, maybe with Codiez and maybe with the Assassin as well, but usually just with the Assassin. But Codiez being good in that attachment as well, because Knights are a little CP hungry. A couple of their stratagems cost 2 CP, which sucks. So having what's-his-face, Codiez in there to be able to maybe generate you some extra CP is nice. Codiez is not an auto-include like the Assassin is though, because a lot of times your opponent also won't have abilities that gain them stratagems. Some armies don't have access to it, like Sisters, I don't think. Pretty sure Sisters don't have access. No, they do. They have, what's-her-face, Junith. But there are armies out there that have absolutely no access to extra command points. Maybe Orcs is one of them. So, overall, he's not an auto-include because of that reason. But for certain detachments, if you got 75 points laying around and none of your units cost 75 points, like Grey Knights, because they're all like 1,000 points apiece, then he's good in there. And honestly, that pretty much covers this. I mean, there's not a whole lot to go over here, and I can't explain the same thing 1,000 times. Assassins are good. A couple of the Inquisitors are good, especially Draxus. Draxus should be way more points because of her output. Codiez is good, and then the Henchmen are good. And they're a good supplement to your army if you're playing Imperial Knights, Custodes, Grey Knights, even Space Marines. I use an Assassin in my Space Marines army. So if you're not using them currently, consider using them, because they'll add so much to your army, and they'll add so much synergy and allow you to get secondaries a little bit easier. So if you struggle with doing that, you might want to consider looking into the Agents of the Imperium and checking out some of their units and putting them in your list, because you're going to want those and they're going to be very helpful for you. So that's going to cover this very hopefully short video. What are we at here? 50 minutes? If you like this kind of content, be sure to assassinate the like button, subscribe to Theory Hammer, hit Nurgle's bell icon, leave a comment down below, and check out our other videos, because we have all kinds of content out there, like I've said. I can't wait to finish these series where I'm going over all these different indexes, because I want to start making list videos, and I want to start making tips and trick videos, and I want to have a focus on battle reports. So once I'm done with this, I can actually focus on more of that. So if you guys like this kind of content, if you want me to do that sort of thing, if you like watching my ugly face and my crazy long hair that looks ridiculous all the time, do those things, and I would appreciate it. The more you do that, the more stuff I can make, and honestly, this is something that I really enjoy doing. So the more that you guys like it, the more encouraging it's going to be for me. I totally just touched my microphone. That probably sounded like shit, but that's going to do it for me, guys. I don't even know what to say for an outro here. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Good fucking bye.